رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے فرمایا، اللہ نے میری امت کی خطا اور بھول جانے کو معاف کیا، اور اسے بھی معاف کیا جس پر اسے مجبور کیا گیا ہو۔
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، السلام علیکم۔ رمضان پاکستان پی ٹی وی نیوز کی خصوصی افطار ٹرانسمیشن میں ایک مرتبہ پھر فاروق حسن اور سارا بھٹی آپ کو خوش آمدید کہتے ہیں۔ خواتین و حضرات، آج 28واں روزہ جو ہے وہ بھی آلموسٹ گزر گیا ہے، اور اب یہاں ایک روزہ رہ گیا یا 2 روزے رہ گئے ہیں، یعنی کہ بالکل ہی ہم ٹیل اینڈ پہ پہنچ گئے ہیں، اور ہمارا بڑا اچھا ساتھ گزرا، میرا اور سارا کا رمضان۔ تو آپ کے ساتھ، آپ سب کے ساتھ، آپ سب کا فیڈ بیک ملا، بہت اچھا لگا، اور آج
ہم نے اتنا سیکھا ہے رمضان ٹرانسمیشن کے دوران بھی، اینڈ آئی ہوپ کہ جو ہماری آڈینس ہے انہوں نے بھی اتنا ہی ہم سے سیکھا ہے جتنا ہم نے سکھانے کی کوشش کی ہے۔
بالکل، اور آج سارا بڑا ہمارا اسپیشل شو ہے، کیونکہ آج کے ہماری جو مہمان ہیں وہ بڑی خاص مہمان ہیں۔
جی،
آپ کو پتہ ہے پاکستان جو ہے بہت مہمان نواز ہے، اور پاکستانی آپ کہیں چلے جائیں کسی شہر میں، پاکستان کے کسی بھی، پشاور، لاہور، کراچی، اسلام آباد، کوئٹہ، تو لوگ دل کھول کے مہمانوں کا استقبال کرتے ہیں، ان کی آؤ بھگت کرتے ہیں، اور آج ہمارے پاس بھی ایک بہت ہی خاص مہمان ہے۔ خواتین و حضرات، آج ہماری مہمان ہوں گی کینیڈین ہائی کمشنر ایکسلنسی لیسلی اسکینین، یہ ہماری آج کی ٹرانسمیشن میں مہمان ہوں گی۔ ان سے آپ کی ہم ملاقات بھی کرائیں گے، بات چیت بھی کریں گے، پوچھیں گے انہیں پاکستان کیسا لگا ہے۔ ایکسلنسی، گڈ ایوننگ۔
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum.
ویلکم ٹو آور ٹرانسمیشن، اٹس a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
ہماری ٹرانسمیشن کا باقاعدہ آغاز تلاوت کلام پاک سے ہوگا، اور آج یہ سعادت حاصل کریں گے قاری محمد سعد، اور ہمارے شیف سیکشن میں ایگزیکٹو شیف توقیر احمد صاحب بھی موجود ہیں ایز یوزول، اور آج بہت ہی اسپیشل کینیڈین پاکستانی فیوژن ڈشز لے کے آئے ہیں۔ السلام علیکم توقیر بھائی۔
وعلیکم السلام۔
توقیر بھائی، یہ میں نے صحیح کہہ دیا نا، کینیڈین پاکستانی؟
It is a fusion, yes.
It is a fusion, right?
Absolutely.
اور اس کا نام کوئی خاص تو نہیں آپ نے رکھا؟
No, it's all whatever the name is given.
اچھا ٹھیک ہے۔
The poutine that's poutine.
All right. Okay.
I still remember poutine.
زبردست زبردست۔
From Montreal. From Montreal.
ابھی ہم
Quebec.
یہی بات کر رہے تھے، میں اور توقیر بھائی بھی یہی بات کر رہے تھے کہ wherever there is maple syrup, so it has to be Canadian.
I live in New York, so they after the Maine they make maple syrup.
Yeah.
Canadian.
Ours is better. I'm just saying.
No, it is. No, you're right. Absolutely, I agree with you.
اچھا جی،
I do.
ٹرانسمیشن کا باقاعدہ آغاز کرتے ہیں جی تلاوت کلام پاک سے، اور آج یہ سعادت حاصل کریں محمد سعد عبید۔ میں درخواست کروں گا سعد سے۔
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى، وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى، ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى، والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى، وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى، ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى۔ ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث صدق اللہ العظیم.
جزاک اللہ. خواتین و حضرات ایک چھوٹی سی بریک لیتے ہیں, بریک کے بعد واپس آتے ہیں. ہم نے جانا کہیں نہیں ہے, اسٹے ٹیونڈ.
مرینا اسپورٹ سٹی ریزیڈینشیا میں 3, 5, 10 مرلہ یا 1 کنال کا کوئی بھی پلاٹ بک کرائیں اور پائیے اپنی انویسٹمنٹ پر 20% تک کنفرم منافع. ابھی فون اٹھائیے
اور اپنا پلاٹ بک کروائیں.
مرینا اسپورٹ سٹی ریزیڈینشیا میں 3, 5, 10 مرلہ یا 1 کنال کا کوئی بھی پلاٹ بک کرائیں اور پائیے اپنی انویسٹمنٹ پر 20% تک کنفرم منافع. ابھی فون اٹھائیے
اور اپنا پلاٹ بک کروائیں.
And nutrition segment is brought to you by FFC.
بنے رہیں ہم قوم کی امید کی کرن, یہ ہے FFC کا عزم. رمضان پاکستان, رمضان پاکستان.
رمضان پاکستان میں ایک بار پھر خوش آمدید. میں ہوں سارہ بھٹی اور میرے ساتھ موجود ہے فاروق حسن. اور آج کا ہمارا ٹاپک جو ہے اٹس اے ویری ویری بیوٹیفل ٹاپک ایز فار ایز رمضان از کنسرنڈ. وی آر گونا ٹاک اباؤٹ کمپیشن, کائنڈنس اور ایمپتھی. اور جب بھی اللہ سبحانہ و تعالیٰ ہم میں سے کسی کو بھی کسی بھی پوزیشن آف پاور یا اتھارٹی میں ڈالتے ہیں, وہ چھوٹی بھی پوزیشن آف اتھارٹی بھی ہو سکتی ہے, جس طرح کہ ماں باپ کا سٹیٹس یا استاد کا سٹیٹس یا کوئی اور گورنمنٹ پوزیشن یا کچھ بھی. تو ہمارا مقصد یہ ہونا چاہیے کہ ہمیں سرو کرنا چاہیے. ہم لوگوں کو لوگوں کے ساتھ کمپیشنیٹلی, کائنڈنس کے ساتھ اور ایمپیتھی کے ساتھ ڈیل کرنا چاہیے. اور ہمارا our job at that point is to serve rather than look for being served.
بالکل صحیح. جی سارا بیسکلی رحم دلی ہمارے مذہب میں بھی سکھایا گیا, اور اگر ہم تاریخ دیکھیں اسلام کی تو وہ رحم دلی کے قصوں سے بھری ہوئی ہے کہ کیسے آپ کے بڑے سے بڑے دشمنوں کو بھی ہمارے جتنے بالکل ہمارے پیغمبروں نے, خاص طور پہ اگر ہم اسوہ حسنہ کی بات کرتے ہیں, حضرت محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی بات کرتے ہیں, کہ رحم دلی کی وہ مثالیں انہوں نے قائم کی کہ ہندا جنہوں نے آپ کے چچا کا کلیجہ چبایا تھا ان کو معاف کر دیا.
اور فاروق
جب فتح مکہ ہوئی تو انہوں نے عام معافی کا اعلان کیا.
آپ جب ہندا کی بات کر رہے ہیں تو اتنی بیوٹیفل ایگزامپل یو براٹ اپ, کیونکہ وہ کہتے تھے کہ میرے سامنے بسنا ہے کیونکہ میرے دل کو تکلیف ہوتی ہے.
لیکن آپ یہ دیکھیں رحم دلی کے علاوہ جو آپ نے بات کی ایمپتھی, یعنی دوسروں کی تکلیف کو محسوس کرنا. آپ دیکھیں ماہ سیام میں خصوصاً جب ہم لوگ باہر جاتے ہیں تو کتنی زیادہ چیریٹی, کتنی زیادہ ڈونیشن بڑھ جاتی ہے, اور اس کی وجہ یہی ہے کہ لوگ دوسروں کا احساس کرتے ہیں, فیل کرتے ہیں ان کے لیے, اور اسی طرح معاشرے چلتے ہیں, اچھے معاشرے اسی طرح چلتے ہیں. لیٹس اسٹارٹ talking with our guests,
Yes.
and Excellency is here. Excellency, before we start off the session, I'd also like to introduce करिश्मा अली. करिश्मा ख़वातीन हज़रात एक फ़ुटबॉलर हैं और इनकी ख़ास बात यह है कि इनका ताल्लुक़ चित्राल से है, खैबर पख्तूनख्वा, और इन्होंने पाकिस्तान को रिप्रेजेंट किया नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे. फ़ुटबॉल की गेम में जो गेम्स हुई थी दुबई में, जुबली गेम्स, वहाँ पे भी इन्होंने रिप्रेजेंट किया. उसके अलावा और भी बहुत से काम करती हैं. ताल्लुक़ इनका चित्राल से है, तो हमें बड़ी खुशी है कि आज इन्होंने ज्वाइन किया. और इनका लिंक क्या है कनाडा के साथ, इस पे भी बात करेंगे. अस्सलाम वालेकुम करिश्मा.
वालेकुम सलाम.
खुश आमदीद. Thank you very much for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me.
So Excellency, how long have you been here in Pakistan and how has the journey been till now?
I arrived in late November, and it's been fantastic. Since arriving, I've been 3 weeks up in Chitral and Gilgit-Baltistan. I've spent a week in Sindh province. I spent a very brief time in Karachi, but I will of course be going back. And I've been mountain biking and hiking and enjoying Pakistani food, and so it's been pretty great being
So
here.
we have got prepared special Canadian
Yes.
dishes for you, today. So this visit to Chitral and Gilgit-Baltistan, was it like a vacation or was it like work?
No, it was basically focusing on empowering women and girls through sport and economic development, and we're focusing on climate, the focus on on not durability, but making sure that we all respect our own climatic environment, so that we're protecting the planet for the future. So we were basically traveling into small communities, focusing on coaching ice hockey for girls and boys, but focus on girls. And my daughter, who plays competitive hockey and lives in the Netherlands, and she coaches hockey, she was coaching, and we had lots of help from other athletes from the embassy that are also hockey players. And we were just we were having women entrepreneurs bring all of their products, wonderful things like apricot shampoo and all the dried fruit. And I bought a beautiful a ladle for the mutton stew in the big rock pot that you get like in the Nagar Valley kind of thing. But I bought a beautiful carved apricot ladle and all the blankets and just so many beautiful things. So we're supporting the community to bring those products to market, and so that was the focus of our trip. So we did that in both areas.
That's amazing. We were just actually talking about, you said that you have seen in Sindh especially women being the matriarch in a way of that region, right? That society. They're the head of the family, they're the decision makers, they're also managing the finances. How was that experience for you?
Well, I want to give you an example of a particular situation. Now this is up in Ganche, so Khaplu, up north, but there's a program, a development program that's administered here through the Aga Khan Rural Support Program, but it's a Canadian funded program, and it's one example of it would be a passive solar greenhouse. So there's this woman in a very small community who learned about the program, applied for funding to build this greenhouse, and it's basically a long mud wall painted black on the inside, and the ground is the regular farmland, and then there's glass with metal just to hold the glass in place. And she's growing tomatoes in Ganche in January. It's never been done before. So she's contributing to her community because she's growing seedlings and selling them to farmers, so that when the farmers plant their seedling in the field, they're further advanced, which means the farmer's going to have a bigger yield and make more money. But this woman is bringing income into her family and her extended family. Her mother-in-law is working with her. So others in the community are looking to do the same thing, but this strong, independent woman made this decision, and she's the one that's bringing this richness to her community. But we saw that in Sindh province. Of course, it was devastating to see the impacts of the flooding, and a lot of the programs are financing programs for livelihood, all the loss of livestock, and there's so much loss. So a lot of the programs are focusing on women. That women are getting the phones to get the money through the applications and things, and the women are the ones picking up the food. But it is a very dominant. The women were the ones giving the courses on hygiene, and very, very strong presence of women. And I really felt it was pretty impressive. Yeah,
we've come a long way. Excellency, this is your first Ramadan in Pakistan, right? And Ramadan is a very special month for all Muslims all over the world, but in Pakistan we celebrate it with a lot of festivity, the sahurs and their iftars. You also, did you experience any iftar recently, and how was the experience?
Well, I'll tell you, the most recent iftar was at the Faisal Mosque on Sunday night. we were invited by the chief imam, and we had a wonderful visit of the beautiful mosque, and then we had this beautiful iftar dinner, and it was just small, just us, and it was gorgeous. And then we had a visit outside with all the lights on it, so it was, they made all the traditional food, and I felt
the pakoras and samosas,
everything was there. And those, what do they call the, it's
jalebi?
Yeah, oh my goodness, so good. So good.
So which brings us to Taqir Bhai. Taqir Bhai has been very kind today. He's our regular
To
chef.
make him jalebi every day.
With maple syrup.
No, after the show.
With maple syrup.
Taqir Bhai has been very kind. He has prepared some fusion dishes, and we're going to talk about the festival that you're having after this. But Taqir Bhai, can you share the recipe, please?
Yeah, pleasantly I was surprised that they gave me 3 dishes and asked me to pick one. So when I looked all 3, so I decided to do all 3.
Very good.
Because one of them is a main dish. Well, you can use in Montreal, you also use as a side dish. And also people over there, so I'm going to have nihari fusion with the, let me correct my pronunciation, poutine.
Yeah.
So that's the right pronunciation. With the spellings, that's why I was confused.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that with the nihari.
Okay.
And we have a gulab jamun, which we have already made in a maple syrup, soaked all overnight, and now I'm going to show it to you with the Canadian maple syrup.
Very good.
So the third thing we are making is, as you said, the jerk chicken. We call it chapli kebab, and the recipe is given by them, which I prepared, and I'm just going to make in front of her the chapli kebab. If you go travel in the Mediterranean and also towards like Jamaica, you find this recipe over there.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on the cruise ship, and that's where I have a lot of my friends. They used to work in these countries, and they used to make this. So I was very surprised to see this recipe. So you got to make
प्रोड्यूसर
all
साहब
3.
से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि अगर वो ये रेसिपीज शेयर कर सकें व्यूअर्स के साथ स्क्रीन पे, और आप साथ साथ बता भी दें.
Okay. Then in Urdu.
हाँ, उर्दू में बता दें. हाँ.
So I have to.
बताएं उर्दू में बताएं. आई एम आस्किंग टू शेयर द रेसिपी इन उर्दू सो दैट द व्यूअर्स कैन आल्सो मेक इट. इस वक्त स्क्रीन पे आ रही है.
जी फारूक, ये दिखा रहे हैं जर्क चिकन चपली कबाब.
जी.
ये जो रेसिपी है, ये जो हमें दी गई थी
जी,
हमने इस रेसिपी को जो है ना, बेसिकली इसका हमने बनाया मिक्सर. बड़ा खूबसूरत इसमें कलरफुल सी, और जो है ना अपना मिन्स मीट वो हमने मिला के सारा. तो हमने तकरीबन इसमें ना जो चीज़, इसमें एक 2 चीज़ें एक्स्ट्रा जो डाली है वो है अपना पनीर. वो हमने इसमें डाला. इस तरह की 2-3 चीज़ें हैं, वो तो बड़ा खूबसूरत किस्म की ना. हम अभी आपके सामने इसके बनाएंगे चपली कबाब.
ठीक है.
और बड़े ही टेस्टी.
सो कीमा बेसिकली,
कीमा विद द रेसिपी इज गिवन ऑन द, लाइक जिसमें हमने कैप्सिकम डाली हैं, फिर उसमें टमाटर डाले हैं, कैप्सिकम की 2-3 कलर्स जिसमें डाले हैं, फिर हमने अपने स्पाइसेस में डाले जो
आम चपली कबाब से कैसे मुख्तलिफ होगा
हमारे से.
हाँ,
इसमें इन्होंने पनीर इस्तेमाल किया, विच वी डोंट. पनीर. फिर उसमें जो मसाले हैं उसमें सिरका है, वो हम नहीं यूज़ करते हैं. फिर इसमें 1-2 चीज़ें लिखी हुई सारी जो हमने उसको बनाई हैं, वो हम चपली कबाब में नहीं करते.
अच्छा तौकीर भाई, is it the same level of spicy or is it less?
No, it's mild spicy.
ठीक है.
चपली कबाब is supposed to be mild spicy.
ठीक.
ये आपको पता है KP belongs to the KP region.
ठीक है.
तो it's bit
सही.
Also I want to introduce, he is also from Chitral.
तो बस चित्राल की आपने बात की है, तो करिश्मा भी चित्राल से हैं और इन्होंने हैंडीक्राफ्ट, आप जानते हैं इनको, वहाँ पे सेलिब्रिटी है ना, ये तो हमारी सेलिब्रिटी है बिल्कुल. तो करिश्मा, I'd like to ask you, आपसे बात करेंगे. आप ये फुटबॉल का जो शौक़ है, ये बचपन से, क्या चित्राल में और भी बच्चे, लड़कियाँ स्पेसिफिकली, फुटबॉल पॉपुलर गेम है वहाँ पे?
अभी कह सकते हैं, लेकिन जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया और व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड वाचिंग फुटबॉल इतना नहीं था.
ओके.
था ही नहीं, कोई नहीं, लड़कियां नहीं खेलती थी.
आपकी फैमिली में किसने आपको मोटिवेट किया कि आप?
मेरे अब्बू ने किया था.
वो भी फुटबॉलर?
माय डैड इज़ अ वेरी क्रेजी फुटबॉल फैन. तो ही यूज्ड टू वॉच फुटबॉल और मुझे साथ में बिठा के फुटबॉल मैचेस दिखाते थे. तो वहाँ से बस शौक
शुरू हुआ. हाँ. और फिर प्रोफेशनली खेलना शुरू कर दिया आपने?
फिर मैं इस्लामाबाद आई स्कूल के लिए, यहाँ से मैंने पढ़ा. और आई रिमेंबर द फर्स्ट टाइम आई केम टू इस्लामाबाद फॉर स्कूल, द फर्स्ट थिंग आई डिड वाज गो आउट टू सी इफ दे हैड अ फुटबॉल ग्राउंड. तो फिर मैंने देखा, उसके बाद मेरा आधा टाइम क्लास में होता था, आधा टाइम फुटबॉल ग्राउंड में होता था. एंड देन फ्रॉम देयर ग्रेजुअली आई फाउंड अ फुटबॉल क्लब. फुटबॉल जो लोकल फुटबॉल क्लब है, उसके एक कोच ने मुझे डिस्कवर किया. आई स्टार्टेड ट्रेनिंग विद देम, एंड देन फ्रॉम देयर ऑन इट जस्ट kept growing.
अच्छा करिश्मा, in Chitral, environment कैसा होता है कि जब आप football, you know, obviously you practice and there's everybody there. So how what kind of environment is it? Is it
conducive?
all right?
मतलब कि
Is it
supportive है लोग
welcoming?
वहाँ पे
You
या
know,
एतराज़
people-
करते हैं?
Initially जब मैंने start किया था बिल्कुल there was minimum support. It was more of cultural shock you can say for them to see a woman, a girl playing football. तो काफ़ी resistance था, लेकिन आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कुछ पेरेंट्स ने देखा कि आई एम अचीविंग थिंग्स थ्रू फुटबॉल एंड दैट इट्स नॉट जस्ट अबाउट फुटबॉल, यानी कि मैं एजुकेशन को साथ में लेके जा रही हूँ, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की तरफ भी जा रही हूँ, फुटबॉल को साथ में लेके. तो दैट इंस्पायर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ पेरेंट्स एंड व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड माय एनजीओ आई वाज सरप्राइज्ड दैट देयर वर 60 गर्ल्स दैट शोड अप टू आवर फर्स्ट कैंप. तो खैर लेकिन अभी भी बहुत टाइम है चेंज लाने में चित्राल में. But I'm happy to see many other organizations that are doing work और बहुत सारी लड़कियां और भी स्पोर्ट्स खेल रही हैं, लेकिन अभी तक मतलब हम लोग खुलेआम नहीं खेल सकते ग्राउंड में. We always have to find a safe space where, especially for football, no male is around.
The male gaze is
हाँ,
not there.
that's not around. और मतलब बच्चियां कंफर्टेबल नहीं है अभी कि वो इस तरह के ग्राउंड्स में जाके खेलें.
लेकिन इन हालात में भी आपने प्रैक्टिस करके इंटरनेशनल लेवल तक, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी आपने
ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी खेला है.
तो आपने तो बड़ा ज़बरदस्त, मतलब इतना टैलेंट माशाल्लाह कि इतनी रिस्ट्रिक्शंस के बावजूद आपने इतना किया. ये आपके फादर ने आपको कोच किया?
बिल्कुल, ये मेरे अब्बू की सपोर्ट की वजह से हुआ है.
ज़बरदस्त ज़बरदस्त ज़बरदस्त. Excellency, coming back to you, Excellency Justin Trudeau is one of the most famous popular leaders globally, and in Pakistan also he's liked a lot. You know, we have a lot of people who admire him, look up to him. He just did one initiative which I would like you to specifically talk about, and that was of appointing Amira El-Gababi as Canada's first special representative on combating Islamophobia. Now, Islamophobia is a you know, is a phenomenon you know, all over the world now. And we are actually, Pakistan also is doing a lot to combat that. So, but we were really pleasantly surprised when this initiative came upon. Would you like to tell us a bit about it?
Yes, Canada, as you may know, is a country that's founded by immigrants. We are an immigrant country and we have a vibrant indigenous culture as well. But we're multicultural, we have multi-faith, and we're a real mix, and for Canadians generally, I think that there's just no space for not treating people equally, doesn't matter who you are. And I know that there have been incidents recently in Canada, so as a Canadian I felt extremely proud that that the special representative was named. Amira El-Gababi she is a very well-known human rights worker, and she's a journalist, and she was one of the founding members of an anti-hate network. So she's a really good candidate, and it means that there's a voice inputting on policies and approaches and so many, you know, aspects of how we deliver services to Canadians, and to make sure that that diversity is taken into consideration. We also have a special envoy who is there to fight anti-Semitism, and I know Trudeau was on the record as saying a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, and everybody should be treated the same. We want our country to be diverse, and we're stronger from the diversity of our country. So it's a very strong move, and we're delighted to see it, to see this. But speaking of diversity, I want to go back to the recipes.
Yes.
They were developed, we did a food fair, we had a Canadian chef in town who worked with a chef at the Serena Hotel. We were supported by Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we had a fusion, a noon hour event. But these fusion events are very much speaking to diversity, having the poutine with the flavors of Pakistan. That for us is a wonderful thing. Yeah. And I'll say for me, when I'm eating Pakistani food, there's nothing better. The spicier, the better. I just wanted to go back to say about food, but anyway.
Oh my God!
You're into spicy food.
Oh, the spicier, the better. But for the Pakistan's obviously played a big role in making an annual day fighting against Islamophobia, and that was this year was the first day, and that was about a month after we had announced our special representative. So it's meaningful for me to be here and to see that Pakistan is taking a leadership role on Islamophobia. So
no, we truly cherish that, and we've often seen viral videos of Excellency Justin Trudeau having iftar in Canada with the Muslim community. I think that's an amazing gesture, you know, like that makes us feel that, you know, we're all the same, as you just mentioned.
But it's also very inclusive, because I mean then there's no minority as such. You're just including every single person, and you do make them feel like, yes, you have a say, you do matter, and you're not somebody who can be or will ever be dismissed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So talking about food, Excellency, this is the fusion that you created, but is there any Pakistani specific food that you really liked or you took a liking to immediately?
My problem is I'm not going to remember the name of the food, but I have this wonderful chef at the residence, and when I got here, he cooks Pakistani food every day for lunch.
You can describe it and we'll try to put the word in it. Like you
well,
told me
obviously
the jalebi.
biryani and things, but what I was going to say was that every day I go home and I have this wonderful Pakistani food. I said to him, I don't want to eat the same thing twice until you run out. So I started tweeting about it, and then everybody, all these people across the country were commenting on my tweets about Pakistani food. So I'm not doing it during Ramadan, but I'll go back to doing it after Ramadan. But the day I had biryani, I had so many people say, that's not biryani. Biryani is in Karachi. You can't have biryani in Islamabad. And
Karachi is known for Sindhi biryani.
Yeah, but I had to laugh because it was so engaged. People we love our food, and people love that you're talking about it and enjoying it. So every day I go home and I have like a mutton stew, or I have, you name it, and I'm eating it. Like I'm having everything, and I'm loving it all. So
you've been to Lahore also?
No, I wanted to go at Christmas, but the air quality, my daughter has asthma, and so I couldn't go, but we went hiking in the Salt Range instead.
Ah, you're
I
gonna
can't
love
wait to get to Lahore.
You're going to love the food there also.
Oh, I know. I hear
Lahore's
good things. Lots of
food
good
is
restaurants.
amazing.
So, Excellency, you have this program called Ambassador for the Day.
Yeah.
And I've seen one of the girls in an interview, and it's such a beautiful initiative. So how did that come about? Because you're the one who actually started it.
Yes. Yeah, it's the first time we've done it here. I've done it before. I've been, like in Poland, where I was ambassador before coming here. But what it does is it exposes a young woman to opportunity. And we had her meet, for example, with the 3 female-led agencies of the United Nations based here in Pakistan. And Nida, is so knowledgeable about the SDGs and about environment, and she herself is such an impressive girl from this very small town, Buni, up in Chitral, and she's such a well-spoken, intelligent young woman. And so she was such a good representative ambassador for that part of Pakistan, but for women generally here. So she was exposed to various things. She was one of the judges at our food event at the Serena Hotel.
Oh, okay.
And I had her meet with the senator, and then she was interviewed on PTV at the end of the day. But for her, she told me it changed her life, because she's been exposed now to something that she never would have dreamed of. And she had she met all these interesting people. And so when you're in a country like an EU member country, you're going to be less likely to have someone who has not been exposed to these things before. So I think the impact of the program here is far greater than the impact of the program when I've done it before. I felt it just felt wonderful.
Fulfilling.
Next time I'd like to look maybe to Sindh, or we'll move it around the country, and we'll do one every year. And we'll expose the girls to different things.
And that's an excellent initiative in terms that, it's exposing the talented Pakistanis also, and giving them an opportunity.
Right, but it empowers girls,
And there was something very beautiful that she actually said in the interview, right? She said that I had never imagined something, and she was living her future.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
So basically, it's breaking all glass ceilings, and you're giving girls an opportunity, and just Pakistanis an opportunity to think beyond what they're accustomed to thinking. So that's
that's amazing. That's amazing. Karishma, you are doing a lot of social work also. You formed a football club, and you've doing something regarding handicrafts also. I think you have a shop. You've established some. Can you tell us something about that?
So I started my organization, which initially was Chitral Women's Sports Club, but we had to register it with a different name because of certain rules and regulations of SCCP. But I started it because I remember in 2016 I read this post that I was the first girl from Chitral to be playing football, which I think, it could be like a proud moment to be the first girl. But for me, it was bothering me because I had been, I am from there, and I know the potential of the young girls there, so it didn't sit right with me. That's when I started my organization, and today we engage around 312 girls to count to exact. We have 312 girls. They play volleyball, they play cricket and football. And apart from that, with the handicraft center again, I was always हमारे एरिया में अगर आप नॉर्थ में जाएं तो मेडिकल हो गया, टीचिंग हो गया, इंजीनियरिंग हो गया, ये एक फील्ड है जो है which are respected. They don't think beyond that. And I remember I was the first one to be picking business because I was just interested in business.
यानी आपने गेम से एकदम कारोबार पे स्विच किया?
नहीं नहीं, गेम्स के साथ, मतलब मैं जब
Games के
स्कूल
साथ
में
साथ,
थी, yeah,
ठीक
my
है।
mom really wanted me to become a doctor, but I wasn't interested. I took business, and then with that, you know, with my business degree, I was thinking the whole time, okay, what can I do to help the women in my area? What is it that I can start? So one thing that you know, I realized is that they would work on this beautiful art for days and days and days, but they were not able to sell it. तो उनके पास ये स्किल नहीं था भेजने का.
ठीक है.
So then I start, वो भी एक NGO की तरह मैंने start किया था 2019 में, where I just wanted to, you know, to create this space. So we rented out this one room where they would come together and just work on the embroidery. And back then I was in my university, I wasn't able to help much, but it was more of a happy place for these women.
Okay.
But then eventually, you know, doing that, I came across this, well, one of my friend introduced me to this Italian designer, and uska ye tha ki she wanted the Chitrali embroidery on her dresses for the Milan Fashion Week. Then I worked with her, and for the first time, like Chitrali embroidery या Pakistan से embroidery Milan Fashion Week.
Milan Fashion Week में गई.
Right, and then उसमें 2 Pakistani models भी for the first time they got to walk at the Milan Fashion Week.
Known models थे या नई लड़कियाँ?
Models, Pakistani models for the first time, yeah, because it was a Pakistani thing being taken there. तो वो initiative, ये 2 initiatives हैं, and I hope that we can go beyond Chitral and try to increase our impact in other areas.
अभी मैं आपसे ये भी पूछूंगा कि आप घर में सबसे छोटी हो या बड़ी हो और कितने siblings हैं और वो क्या करते हैं, लेकिन पहले तौकीर भाई आपने तैयार कर लिया.
Wanted to do the first dish, which is nihari poutine. This dish is basically from the Quebec. This is province, French spoken, and mostly served in Montreal. The way it's being served there is a bit different, but let me assemble this and then the fries, freshly crispy fries.
अच्छा, आपने उर्दू में भी साथ साथ बताना है तौकीर?
जी जी, fries हमने सबसे पहले हमने fries लिए हैं.
Chips, आलू के chips.
आलू के chips. Yeah, he's my teacher also in Urdu.
Teach Urdu to everyone.
So उस पे थोड़ा सा हमने निहारी जो है ना shredded करके. So this is nihari, cooked overnight, shredded. So we got a
ये गोश्त है तौकीर भाई?
जी, निहारी.
और वो उसको काट के आपने?
Right. You know, बोटियाँ इसमें लेते हैं उनकी, तो फिर उसको निकाल के हम
ठीक.
So this is what we did with that one, and after that they call in USA or in Canada gravy, जिसको हम इसका वो बोलते हैं निहारी का शोरबा, वो उसके ऊपर डाला. And I'm going to include this dish into my menu.
Oh yeah?
Honestly.
Yeah?
I really enjoy it.
You have to pay royalty to Excellency also.
Yeah, send it to Canadian High Commission.
Yes.
And then people should try this home. लोगों को चाहिए घर में ज़रूर try करें.
ठीक है.
इसके बाद हमने इसके ऊपर जो है ना 2 तरह का चीज़. This is homemade paneer. We're gonna.
ये पालक पनीर वाली पनीर है तौकीर भाई?
Mozzarella and paneer. जी, exactly.
पालक पनीर वाली.
Yeah. So we're gonna have that one on top.
तो कि भाई इसको फिर हम बेक शेक तो नहीं करेंगे ना, बेक नहीं करेंगे, बस
No.
इसको इसी तरह हम सर्व कर देंगे.
This is no, we don't bake it, and you can bake.
Okay.
So that's a good point.
Because the mozzarella would be really nice and crispy on top then.
I mean,
We
see
bake
this,
it.
this is so beautiful.
Just
Honestly.
grill it from the top.
सही.
You know, my hands are like really. And then we have garlic.
अदरक.
जी.
Yeah.
Shredded on top, and it's raw. It's raw, kacha. Green chili, chopped.
हरी मिर्चें.
हरी मिर्चें, बिल्कुल finely chopped, and mint. It's a beautiful dish. I really enjoy it.
She will have
Thank
to
you for
vouch
sharing
for it
with us.
after she tastes.
No, credit goes to her, but thank you for sharing. And we just made it. So this is the first one,
ज़बरदस्त.
and when you're done, then I'll make the
ठीक,
second one.
तो फिर अगली वाली बनाएंगे. ठीक है. अच्छा करिश्मा, हमने एक छोटी सी ब्रेक पे जाना है. ब्रेक के बाद आके आपसे हम बात करेंगे आपकी फैमिली के हवाले से भी. ख़ातिन हज़रात, एक्सेलेंसी हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं, कैनेडियन हाई कमिश्नर करिश्मा भी यहीं पे हैं, और तौकीर भाई ने अभी ज़बरदस्त डिश की रेसिपी शेयर की है जो कि फ्यूजन डिश थी. आपने जाना कहीं नहीं, एक छोटी सी न्यूज़ ब्रेक लेंगे, ब्रेक के बाद वापस आएंगे. स्टे ट्यून्ड.
पाकिस्तान
रमज़ान पाकिस्तान में एक बार फिर खुशामदीद। मैं हूँ सारा भट्टी और मेरे साथ मौजूद है फारूक हसन।
जी सारा, बहुत शुक्रिया। और करिश्मा अली भी हमारे साथ हैं, एम्बेसडर साहिबा तो हैं ही। करिश्मा, आपसे मैं ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले पूछ रहा था कि आपने इतना कुछ किया, आप एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप भी कर रही हैं, सोशल वर्क भी कर रही हैं, फुटबॉल खेल रही हैं, इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे खेला, आपने बताया आपके रोल मॉडल आपके फादर हैं। तो आपकी सिबलिंग्स कितने हैं, आपके बहन भाई कितने हैं? आप घर में छोटी हैं सबसे?
नहीं, मैं घर में सबसे बड़ी हूँ, मुझसे छोटी एक बहन है, उससे छोटा एक भाई है।
तो वो भी फुटबॉलर्स हैं?
नो, दे आर नॉट मच इनटू स्पोर्ट्स।
नहीं, आप खुद ही से, मतलब आप ही ने ये एक सेट किया। उनका इरादा है आने का?
आई एम सॉरी।
नहीं, दैट्स ओके। ओके, इरादा है। चलो इस पे मज़ीद बात करते हैं। तौकीर भाई की डिशेस तैयार हो गई हैं सारा।
सो शुड आई गो कम एंड सी?
हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल,
देखते
हैं जब देखेंगे क्या उन्होंने तीनों कंप्लीट कर ली हैं डिशेस, क्या क्या हैं।
अच्छा, तौकीर भाई की जो प्रेजेंटेशन आज जो है ना, वो बहुत ही डिफरेंट प्रेजेंटेशन है, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट देसी। तो आज प्रेजेंटेशन भी तौकीर भाई आपने उसी लिहाज से की हुई है।
We made jerk chicken.
जी, which is chapli kebab.
Which is chapli kebab.
जी.
The difference, they use soy sauce, orange juice. They use so many different things that we also included. It's in the recipe on the screen, and we are serving with the tamarind sauce.
Okay.
Tamarind.
Yep.
Imli ki हम इसको use करें. And I hope that Excellency will taste this. And then we made gulab jamun. Overnight we fried, and then we put in the maple syrup.
Yeah.
Again, it's a Canadian maple syrup.
Exactly.
Okay? So I'm going to make sure this is all clear. So we're going to have, now before we serve, we're going to have...
अच्छा तौकीर भाई, मैंने एक चीज़ पूछनी थी कि would we warm up the maple syrup or we just use it like it is?
We made sure that.
You should ask.
Sometimes. should we? Because shouldn't it, ये जो अगर ये गर्म नहीं थोड़ा सा होता तो वो ज़्यादा soak कर लेता?
You can do that. But if you're in a hurry, people would love to have it either way, hot and cold. And the only decoration.
Sorry?
तौकीर भाई, आपको फिर साथ लेकर जाना पड़ेगा जो भी डिश बना रहे हैं, क्योंकि ये प्रेजेंटेशन भी तो आपने देनी है मेपल सिरप को ऊपर डालते हुए।
लेकिन इसकी मेपल सिरप के साथ आप इसको खाएंगे ना, you will love it. The taste is different but very good. Excellent taste.
And it's quite healthy as well.
Yeah, because we make in the sugar syrup. And this is I mean, you know this. This maple tree comes. So this is different like honey. So this is very healthy. This is very tasty. And maybe it's easier to get something. So that's it.
और आपकी ये जो है
this is awesome. This is really, this is the third time I'm saying. This I'm going to have this in my menu.
Right.
I'm going to have it ready for Farouk next time.
बिल्कुल ठीक है तौकीर भाई, मैंने आके पूरी ये खानी है डिश, और मैं I will go back to Excellency. And Excellency, you are an avid lover of arts. You're very fond of arts. I've heard that you've been frequenting the Pakistan National Council of the Arts, you know, like regularly. So, like, you are into paintings or performing arts, or what form of art do you prefer?
I have to say, I like live theatre a lot.
Okay.
And I saw the two actors who were in the film Joyland. They did a play at the PNCA. And it was really, I love the way a play is staged. And they did a great job staging it, but they did a terrific job as actors as well. I saw the movie Joyland when I was in the UK, really enjoyed it, but I've been there for paintings and for music, and I'm always looking for what's going on, and that's another reason I'm looking forward to going to Lahore and to other cities, because I really want to go and see more galleries, more domestic art. And the music, when we were up north, we heard some beautiful music, because in Altit in Hunza, there's the music school, that's the Aga Khan Music School, so they do everything. And the biggest reaction from the music was the traditional music, and it was winter on the ice rink, and everybody was just the music was so gorgeous that they were playing with all their traditional instruments, and so I'm really enjoying that as well.
And those instruments must be very new to you also, because they're just very natural, you know, this part of the world.
Everywhere we've traveled, there's been local music, so where even our drive, we drove up to Chitral, which was like a 12-hour drive, and we stayed at a hotel on the way, and at night by the campfire, we had musicians with traditional music, and it was just us, because of course there's nobody there in the winter, so there was no one there but us, so it was really
So you enjoyed it, huh?
Yeah, we loved it.
Solitude.
So Your Excellency, I have this question. We were talking about Sindh before, and Pakistan is every single nation in the world has been affected by climate change.
Yes.
But Pakistan has been really devastated by it. The floods, we're really suffering from it. So, and you have done a lot for that.
Canada has been a very active player in promoting climate
Exactly,
change,
yeah.
the issues that it's
Yeah.
causing, and it's a global phenomenon.
As far as awareness is concerned, and not just that, you've actually taken steps and measures to manage the situation. So can you talk a little bit about that as
And
well?
Canada also helped us a lot in this recent floods. You know,
Yes,
they were very
yes.
supportive. You know, they actually supported us in real terms,
Yeah.
in real value.
Yeah, when the floods, I was ambassador in Poland, and I knew I was coming here, but the war had just broken out in Ukraine, so part of me I couldn't look over, and part of me I couldn't look away. It was so devastating what was happening here. And our development minister came in September, and Canada donated about $58 million towards flood response, and that's for everything, you know, food packages and everything that would be useful for communities affected by the flooding. But over the past 5 years, we've also contributed about $2.65 billion to climate resistance globally. That we've given to, you know, millions of dollars to the World Bank for climate financing, and Pakistan is eligible for a lot of this funding. We have a new Indo-Pacific strategy that was just announced in January. It's a 5-year strategy, and within that strategy, there's a $54 million 5-year program for helping countries that are facing disastrous climate impacts on their economy and on their infrastructure and on their lives. And so we're waiting for more clarity on how that money will be, the criteria for accessing the funds and what kind of money it is, but that's an obvious fit for Pakistan. So I'm home at the beginning of June, and I'm hoping to get more specificity so I can come back and speak to the various ministers I've been meeting here, talking about responding to climate. Canada has been impacted like everybody else, and obviously Canada is a leader in things like carbon neutrality and
Carbon
climate
emission,
credit.
yep.
Like we're fighting it on the home front as well, but in my mission here in Pakistan, my focus is more on responding to what's happening here. And there's so much work that needs to be done on infrastructure, and Pakistan here as well has been such a leader at COP and then at the Geneva Resilience Conference. I think that there's no doubt that you're able to enunciate what your needs are, and so the next focus will be how does that money get spent here? Where's the capacity? What is actually required? Because a lot of infrastructure will have to be worked on. For example, up north, you see a lot of hills like that have been deforested because people need the wood to heat their homes. So you've got a dilemma there because you have to build infrastructure to stop landslides. And as soon as you start taking trees down, you're going to have more landslides.
More landslides, yeah.
But people need to heat their homes. And so you have a real conundrum. What do you do about that? So those kinds of areas, and then in Sindh, where all that water is still sitting, the way that the discovery at the time, as I'm sure you know well, you couldn't get to a lot of the communities because the roads were flooded out. So the infrastructure that was built up after was lattice work of roads that were raised up. But in a lot of cases, there was no way for the water to get out. There were no culverts built in, so the water got stuck. That's why there's still water in lots of places. So infrastructure like building water channels so that water can run off and not stay on these fields, which are now going to limit production for this summer for the farmers in the area. So there's so many impacts to not building the infrastructure to respond. And as we know in Pakistan, the years between the catastrophic funding are going to get shorter. So it's going to be the resilience and the building back better, not just building back the same house on the same land with the same bricks, but what are you changing so that next time the catastrophic floods come, it doesn't happen to you again. So those are the kinds of, but also, you know, I've been meeting so many agent departments and across the Pakistani government and working with World Food Program and other international agencies, and you know, after the 2010 floods, a lot of work was done to pre-position food and other necessities to respond to crisis, and that worked really well in these floods. So there's also a learning underway for how to respond in future. So we're really working hard to support that as well.
It has to be a sustainable
right.
methodology so that it doesn't get repeated, you know.
Yeah,
like the
and like even simple things like a lot of the buildings that were housing grain, well, they weren't waterproof and the grain went rotten. So there have to be resilient buildings, you know, and some of the new concrete construction doesn't heat the house very well and it gets moldy. So there's a lot of work to be done on infrastructure and a lot of expertise to bring in, so that the capacity building will be important. And they're like being up in the Hopper Valley, in Nagar Valley in Hopper, the girls that I was meeting, 15, 16-year-old girls, and they can't go to school past grade 10 because there's no building for them, and they're saying, can you help us have a school? You know, and you really want to help everybody do everything you can, and I have to say that for me it'll be climate and environment that will be a priority for me, and I mean that even at the Chancery. Like I'm really focused on having as small a footprint as we can possibly have, and we grow our own food on the property, and we're going to be doubling the size of our garden, and so when I host events, we're going to be using things that we've grown on our own property, and it's all organic and pesticide free, and I really want to grow local and eat local, so that we're using what's around us in this environment. So all kinds of ideas, lots of plans.
That's an excellent
And that's what we
ideology.
say. It starts from home.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
That's how you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Great excellency. करिश्मा, आपको नेशनल यूथ काउंसिल की भी आप मेंबर हैं और ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब हेड करते हैं, ये कैसे हुआ, मतलब किसने पिक किया, क्या क्राइटेरिया था?
ये आई वाज द मेंबर बिटवीन 2019 टू 2021, 2 साल का होता है.
ओके.
और ये इनिशिएट हुआ मेरे ख्याल में कॉमनवेल्थ के साथ. कॉमनवेल्थ ने जो भी उनके कंट्रीज़ हैं, कॉमनवेल्थ कंट्रीज़, उनको इंकरेज करती कि वो एक यूथ लेड इस तरह का एक वो करें, फॉर्म करें. तो एशिया में मेरे ख्याल में वी आर वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट फ्यू टू डू दिस. और ये लेट कर रहे थे उस टाइम इमरान खान, जो कि ही वाज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर एंड ही वाज द चेयरमैन ऑफ द पाकिस्तान नेशनल यूथ काउंसिल. और इसमें ये होता है कि जो आपके पाकिस्तान में यूथ है जो आउटस्टैंडिंग काम करे अपनी फील्ड में, और यू नो एक्सेप्शनल वर्क दैट दे आर डूइंग, उनकी रिकग्निशन के उस मुताबिक उनको चूज़ करते हैं, सेलेक्ट करते हैं फॉर द नेशनल यूथ काउंसिल.
ठीक है.
तो उस टाइम 2019 में मेरी काम की वजह से आई वाज रिकग्नाइज्ड इन फोर्ब्स और बहुत सारा मेरे
फोर्ब्स 30 अंडर 30 में आप थी.
जी. तो मेरे ख्याल में उधर से उन्होंने पिक किया एंड दे सेलेक्टेड मी एज वन ऑफ द मेंबर एंड आई वाज वन ऑफ द यंगेस्ट मेंबर ऑफ नेशनल यूथ काउंसिल.
कितना ज़बरदस्त मौका होगा आपके लिए, कितने फ़ख्र का होगा कि पेरेंट्स के लिए भी फोर्ब्स 30 अंडर 30 में आना और फिर इस फोरम पे आना.
बिल्कुल
ज़बरदस्त. You've brought a lot of laurels for Pakistan. We're all very proud of you.
Thank
must
you
say
so
that.
much.
तो करिश्मा, आप किस तरह मैनेज करते हो? वैसे अगर देखा जाए आप इतनी ढेर सारी चीज़ें कर रहे हो और वो भी डाइवर्स फील्ड्स में, ये नहीं कि आप एक ही चीज़ के साथ स्टिक कर रहे हो, तो आप किस तरह मैनेज करते हो? और आप किस तरह सजेस्ट करोगे कोई और लड़की है, कोई चित्राल से अगर कोई लड़की आपको अभी देख रही है, तो आप उसको क्या मैसेज देना चाहोगे?
अच्छा, हम जब बाहर से देखते हैं ना, सब इतना बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लगता है, लेकिन आप जब काम करना स्टार्ट करो एक दो, बहुत आसान लगता है जब आप काम करना स्टार्ट करें. हम क्या करते हैं कि यूजुअली हम बाहर से देखते हैं या सोशल मीडिया पे देखते हैं, हम कहते हैं पता नहीं कहाँ से कैसे फोर्ब्स पे पहुंची, पता नहीं क्या कर रही थी. दैट वाज़न्ट इवन माय फोकस. तो ऐसा होता है कि मैं अपना काम करती हूँ डेली बेसिस पे, मैं अपना काम बहुत अच्छा मैनेज करती हूँ. ये है कि मैं ये नहीं कि बैठ के सोशल मीडिया पे स्क्रॉल करो, ये वाले काम मैं नहीं करती हूँ. तो आई एम वेरी स्मार्ट अबाउट हाउ आई मैनेज माई टाइम. तो मेरे ख्याल में उसमें मुझे इतना मुश्किल नहीं लगता कि ये मैनेज करना वो मैनेज करना. और अभी मैं UN Women 30 for 2030 इनिशिएटिव, उनका भी मैं मेंबर हूँ और हम लोग रेगुलरली उनके साथ कैंपेन्स वगैरह डिज़ाइंस करते हैं. तो आई हैव नेवर फेल्ट दैट it was exhausting or any. I love my work, I love doing what I'm doing. तो मुझे कभी महसूस नहीं हुआ कि मैं टाइम मैनेज नहीं कर पा रही हूँ.
नेचुरल रहते हो, अपना जो दिल चाहता है वो करते हो और चीज़ें खुद ब खुद होती जाती हैं.
बिल्कुल.
That's a sign of a true leader.
Zabardast. And I was actually talking to Her Excellency as well, and you were saying that there are some people who just love living, right? Because when I was speaking to her and we were talking, and I was just telling her that you're one of those people who actually loves living.
Yeah.
And when you love living life, जब आप एक्सपीरियंस करना चाहते हैं हर कुछ और आप हर चीज़ को yes कहना चाहते हैं, तो somehow you find your own path and somehow how you find your own way.
There's a will, there's a way.
Bilkul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellency, cricket, you know, is a fever here.
I've heard of cricket.
Yes.
I don't know anything about cricket.
You don't know anything. No, I'm not going to ask you any technical questions about cricket. But I just wanted to know, like, the New Zealand team is visiting these days in Pakistan. Canada has a cricket team also.
Do we?
Yes, absolutely you do. So you've had, you know, you did this initiative of bringing these girls, the hockey players, and you know, and you had this match in Gilgit, right?
It was Chitral and Gilgit-Baltistan, and it was coaching. There was a tournament up in Altit, but yeah, we were coaching all kinds of all over the place.
That was promoting something which we've never heard of. We've never heard of women hockey in that part of.
It's also ice hockey. Did I say it was ice hockey?
No, you didn't say that.
It was ice hockey.
It was ice hockey. Yeah. So ice hockey is a unique, novel concept in Pakistan. We are used to hockey, which is our national game.
That's right.
But not ice hockey. So I was just wondering, would it be any time in future, would it be possible to have your cricket team also come over to Pakistan, and maybe we could
Well, I
have
think if the Pakistan Cricket Association wants to invite the Canadian cricket team, I'm sure they would be interested, because when I was coming here and getting briefings at our Department of Foreign Affairs, one of the people I spoke to said, "Oh, we're going to have a real problem in Pakistan because we don't play cricket, so we're not going to have, it's going to really be impacting our diplomatic relationship." And I'm just kind of like, really? And then you get here and you see everybody loves cricket. Like,
it's a fever here. It's a passion.
Huge.
It is. It's huge.
Yeah, my father was a member of Lord's Cricket Grounds, the cricket club in St. John's Wood in London, and he loved watching it, but I don't even think I've seen a cricket game. Like, I really don't know anything about it.
No, we Pakistanis, we love cricket.
But I'm going to go watch a polo match, though.
Are you going to watch a polo?
I'm going to go watch a polo match, and I would like to see one of the polo matches up north. So
that's
I hope while I'm here.
The Shandur Festival.
Yeah, that's the one up on the highway between when you cross between, right?
It's the highest ground.
And it's no rule. It's no rules polo. Freestyle polo. That's what we want to do.
So. करिश्मा, आपसे ये पूछना चाहूँगा, जैसे सारा ने शुरू में पूछा, आपने बताया कि आपको खेलने के लिए अलहदा ग्राउंड ढूंढने पड़े, वहाँ पे ऑब्वियसली मुश्किल होता है, लेकिन मुझे ये बताएं कि क्रिटिसिज्म या फिर तनकीद कितनी हुई आपकी अपनी फैमिली में, रिलेटिव्स में, दोस्तों में, या दोस्तों की फैमिलीज़ ने कुछ कहा कि भाई ये लड़कियों की खेल नहीं है, आप तो अपना ज़्यादा बैडमिंटन लड़कियां शौक से खेलती हैं, लेकिन ये इस तरह की गेम्स फुटबॉल और हॉकी और क्रिकेट अब आके पॉपुलर हो रही है, वेमेन क्रिकेट, तो इस तरह की कोई तनकीद भी सामना करना पड़ा?
नो, आई विल बी ऑनेस्ट, मेरे रिलेटिव्स से, मेरी अपनी कम्युनिटी से जहाँ से मेरा ताल्लुक़ है, और मेरी फैमिली तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं, दे हैव ऑलवेज बीन एनकरेजिंग, लेकिन एक्सटेंसिवली अगर आप देखें चित्राल में जो लोग हैं उनको डेफिनेटली तनकीद का सामना तो हुआ, which was in front of the world, तो it's not for me to tell, it's not something new. और the thing is I'm very understanding of situations and people, और मुझे भी समझ है कि वो इस तरह क्यों सोचते हैं, क्योंकि पहले इस तरह कभी नहीं हुआ. So I was trying to make peace with it, even though I was 18 at the age, and I read some of the most horrible things about myself out on the internet, but I was still trying to make peace, trying to understand उनके perspective भी. और मेरा ये था कि हमेशा मैं आगे सोचती थी कि 10 साल बाद if I continue doing what I'm doing, what's going to happen. तो मेरा कभी फोकस नहीं रहा कि वो क्या कह रहे हैं, ये क्या कह रहे हैं. लेकिन अभी जैसे आप इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात कर रहे हैं, तो इट्स वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट, क्योंकि आई हैव रिसीव्ड द रिकग्निशन, एंड हमारे गवर्नमेंट के इंस्टीट्यूशंस देखते हैं और भी इंस्टीट्यूशंस देखते हैं, एंड दे इंकरेज मी, और वो ट्वीट करते हैं या पोस्ट डालते हैं, बट इट्स रियली देयर जॉब टू गिव अस दैट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कि अगर बगैर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के हम 300 लड़कियों के साथ काम करें, अगर प्रॉपर एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमें वो लोग दें, तो वी कैन ऑफ कोर्स इंक्रीज द नंबर ऑफ गर्ल्स.
बिल्कुल सही, और पोटेंशियल बहुत है करिश्मा. आई एम श्योर आपकी तरह की और भी बहुत से वहाँ पे स्टूडेंट्स करिश्मास वहाँ पे होंगी, और ऑल ओवर पाकिस्तान होंगी, जिनको अगर प्रॉपर प्लेग्राउंड या अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले.
बिल्कुल, तो हमारे पास पूरे पाकिस्तान में कोई इस तरह का फैसिलिटी नहीं है कि लड़कियों के लिए हम पार्क नहीं जा सकते हैं, हम वॉक के लिए नहीं जा सकते, इट्स नॉट सेफ. तो देन हाउ डू यू एक्सपेक्ट हाफ ऑफ योर पॉपुलेशन जो कि औरतें और लड़कियां हैं टू बी एक्टिव एंड टू बी हेल्दी. एंड और यूजुअली ये होता है कि बोलते हैं कि आप लोग जब नेशनल एथलीट जाते हैं तो उनको बोलते हैं आपकी परफॉर्मेंस ठीक नहीं है, तो उनकी परफॉर्मेंस कहाँ से ठीक होगी, वेयर गर्ल्स कैन नॉट ईजिली डू एनीथिंग दैट बॉयज कैन. Girls cannot walk freely, girls cannot exercise. So
Her Excellency, I'm going to ask a similar question, because what we do is we often ask how has your experience been as a woman, whenever we're talking about somebody who comes from a remote region, right? But how has your experience been as a woman coming from the first world nation? Right? You've been you're Canadian. How has that been for you? And what about your struggles? And what about your challenges?
Well, the first thing I want to say is about the girls having access to sports. The only communities we visited with our sports initiative were communities who agreed that the girls would have equal time on the ice. So that's not all communities. So that's exactly right. We want you want the girls to have access to the same ice, the same equipment, the same coaching. And so in some communities that meant starting earlier before men arrived, or whatever it meant, but the community has to support that, and men are your champions as well. Like, it's a community effort to make sure that girls have access. Right. So I just wanted to I obviously didn't understand what Krishma was saying, but I was extrapolating from a little bit of English. Yeah. In terms of being a woman, I have to say being a diplomat and being a woman means I'm here representing my government. So it's irrelevant that I'm a woman. Obviously, I'm not a Muslim. So there are things about, you know, like I don't cover my hair, and there are things, but neither does everybody else in this country. So I find that my experience here, when I look around and everything I'm experiencing, I'm finding it a very diverse country. Everywhere I go, so many things are so different from neighborhood to neighborhood. And even being up in Gilgit-Baltistan, going from Altit to Hopper, 18 kilometers away, they are on different planets in terms of so many things. It's a very different place. Even the dialect is different. So I'm finding that to be true everywhere I go in Pakistan. The diversity is just striking. Everywhere. And before I came, I looked at photographs of all members of the federal cabinet. And it's everything. Some people are dressed conservatively, some are dressed in Western suits. It's a mix. It's very diverse. So, but as a woman, I have to say, I think because I'm in diplomat, I mean, I did train to be a journalist, and I was a journalist way back briefly. But being a diplomat, because you're representing your government, nobody has any choice but to deal with you. So I don't have an issue in terms of being a woman.
But how about your experience, like when you were younger, right? In a very different setting. How about that? How is that different? Because, you know, we're gonna have an experience as a Pakistani woman in Pakistan, right? You're gonna have your own experience as a Canadian woman in Canada or any other place that you're in, right? So what about those challenges? There must be different challenges.
I don't think I can't think of challenges. Like our whole family, we're all athletic. We all ski, and my daughter started playing hockey when she was 5, and my son is an athlete. I think that I come from a family that's very athletic. Both of my parents worked. My father was a professor. My mother was a teacher. Her mother, my father's mother, worked. Like I don't think I would say that I've had particular challenges. I don't feel it anyway that I've had challenges as a woman.
It's a different
My take on Excellency Leslie is that she loves to live.
Yes.
She's extremely, you know, she likes to have fun, enjoy her time, and
making
that's
the most of it.
making the most of it.
But on the woman, I want to say, like when Justin Trudeau got elected in 2015, he balanced the cabinet 50-50. When I went to Poland in 2018, we had 50% women ambassadors, and that's including G7 missions. That's across the board. Canada made a commitment to having 50% women in very senior posts. So I think that I come from a government and from a country that really values this, and I feel, you know, we have a feminist foreign policy. Everything we do is looked at through a gender frame. So we're looking, how does this impact women? So we're always conscious of that, and I don't think that just started. I think Trudeau was the first prime minister to put those rules in place, but I think we've had strong women in senior leadership roles. But believe me, I meet a lot of really impressive women in Pakistan. I meet them everywhere I go, in every sector, you know, well educated, smart. So I'm seeing it here as well, I must say.
Great. Excellency, we have a lot of Pakistanis who migrated to Canada, who are living in Canada, who are contributing to the economy of Canada and serving there in different positions, different roles. I'm sure you must have had interaction with the Pakistani diaspora, which is residing in Canada, whenever you go back, or do you have any friends there in Canada who are from Pakistan? How would you rate the Pakistanis in terms of their contribution towards the economy of Canada?
Well, I'll go back to the beginning of our conversation. I wouldn't distinguish anybody as being a Pakistani Canadian. There's nobody I know that I would say, oh, they're a this, that, / Canadian.
They're just Canadian.
Yeah, so I mean, the people I know who come from all over the place, I wouldn't distinguish Pakistani Canadians in any way. My son is studying in the north of Toronto, and I had never been up that far near the airport in the community, and there's a really big Pakistani Canadian diaspora there. So your chef was just saying, when you go up there are no white people, and I had to laugh. When I went up there, I went to the gym, and it's true. I'm like, wow. I'm like, but like I spent 6 years in Japan, and then I went and lived in Vancouver, and obviously, there are lots of Japanese Canadians who are they have Japanese parents, but when they're born and bred in Canada, so they move differently and they talk differently because they're not raised in Japan. They're different. So if you're a Pakistani Canadian born in Canada, you're just like any other Canadian. You talk the same as anybody else. So when we were up in Altit, there was a young man on the ice, and he was, as far as we knew, he was a young Pakistani man from Hunza. And my daughter she was at the face-off circle in the middle of the ice rink, and she said to him, you really know how to skate and your puck handling is great. Where are you from? He said, oh, I'm from Mississauga. And we're like, what? But he was so he obviously learned to skate somewhere else because he was very, very good, but he grew up playing hockey. And his family, like so many young Pakistani Canadians, the parents went to Canada, but then the parents came back for family reasons, and then the kids come back to experience living where their families come from. And now he's working, I wonder if he's watching, but he's working at his father's company outside Lahore. So there's a real blend, but that's what I would say. It's very very hard to distinguish where people are from because nobody really talks about it. Like I could have a Pakistan Canadian sitting beside me anywhere and I wouldn't know because they look like we're all mixed up. You know, we have such a mishmash.
And Canada is one of those few countries which actually embraces this diversity, you know.
I think we do, and I hope we do. Like I do believe we do, and I hope we do. I mean, we are. There's a film that's come out called Peace by Chocolate. Have you heard of this?
No, we haven't.
It's a Syrian refugee who went to Canada, and these are privately sponsored. So groups of like book clubs, church groups, whatever, they sponsor. And he was a refugee coming from Syria. And his father had been a chocolatier. He was a doctor or a lawyer or something. Anyway, they started the business again, and they were in Nova Scotia on the east coast of Canada. And now they've become this incredible company. They've made all these jobs. They still base their business in this small town in Nova Scotia, but a movie was made about it. Like a movie you'd see on Netflix, like not a documentary, but like a fun movie.
One,
I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see it. But that's a typical story of immigrant success in Canada, because he came and the whole town just embraced him.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a really great story.
That's good. No, we have some leading Canadian actors also we are very fond of. We keep on watching movies. Canadian actors are very popular in Pakistan. You know, if they ever
a lot of actors that you think are American are actually Canadian.
There
are a lot of undercover Canadians.
That is actually so true because you know you go like, okay,
he's Canadian.
He's Canadian. Adam Sandler.
Of the singers.
A lot of singers are Canadian. That's
Jim Carrey is very popular here. Everyone loves to watch him.
That's right. Totally Canadian.
करिश्मा आपसे ये पूछना चाहूँगा कि यूजुअली जब भी स्पेशली लड़कियों के केस में एक करियर प्लानिंग होती है, बचपन से हम कहते हैं कि जी डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर या कोई और प्रोफेशन जो है पेरेंट्स की ख्वाहिश होती है ताकि आप आगे जाके एम्प्लॉयमेंट में यूजुअली स्पोर्ट्स में अब आके विमेन क्रिकेट टीम बनी है, वरना स्पोर्ट्स में इतना ज़्यादा प्रोफेशनली हमें नहीं मिलती खबर में। तो आपके यहाँ कभी इस तरह का हुआ कि आपने अगर कुछ अपॉर्चुनिटी होती तो आप किस करियर को ऑप्ट करती हैं अगर आप स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन ना होती?
अगर मैं स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन ना होती तो डेफिनेटली बिजनेस एंड अगेन डू समथिंग इन सोशल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप।
ये आपने डिसाइड कर लिया था कि आपने जॉब नहीं करनी?
नहीं, हाँ बिल्कुल नहीं।
Zabardast. Thank you. Excellency, so many people watching you right now. We are just coming towards the tapering end of our transmission. Any message that you'd like to give to all of the Pakistan that is watching you right now?
Well, Pakistan. What people constantly tell me is I've traveled more than they have in their own country. So what I would say, Pakistan, travel all over your country. Because it's a beautiful country. That's what I would say. Because I've just experienced so much. The hospitality I've enjoyed everywhere I've gone has been remarkable. And I when people say to me, and it's true, when you're visiting a country, you travel more than when you live there. So that's my message. Get to know your own country, travel a lot, and enjoy Pakistan.
And you will enjoy the hospitality in all the cities that you'll go to. I can assure you that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure.
We still have Lahore to go to.
Yes,
I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah.
We are very thankful to you, Excellency, for sparing time, and we've overshot by about 5 minutes, but I'm sure you'll excuse me for that.
No worries.
But thank you so very much.
Thank you.
करिश्मा, आपका भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आप आई, बहुत अच्छा लगा। ख़ातिन हज़रात, वी गोना टेक अ शॉर्ट ब्रेक। हम एक छोटी सी ब्रेक लेंगे, ब्रेक के बाद वापस आएंगे। आपने जाना कहीं नहीं, स्टे ट्यून्ड।
रमजान का तीसरा अशरा दोज़ख से नजात का बाइस है। ऐ अल्लाह, मुझे आग से पनाह में रखना।
इरशाद बारी ताला, यकीनन मोमिन वो लोग हैं कि जब उनके सामने अल्लाह का जिक्र किया जाता है तो उनके दिल लरज उठते हैं, और जब उनके सामने उसकी आयत तिलावत की जाती है तो उनके ईमान में इजाफा हो जाता है और वो अपने रब पर तवक्कुल करते हैं। लाहौर में मगरिब की आज़ान का वक्त हो गया है। दूसरे इलाकों के नाजरीन अपने मकामी वक्त के मुताबिक रोज़ा इफ्तार करें।
अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी लका सुम्तु व बिका आमनतु व अलैका तवक्कलतु व अला
ऐ अल्लाह, मैंने तेरे लिए रोजा रखा और तुझ पर ईमान लाया और तुझ पर भरोसा किया और तेरे अदा किए हुए रिस्क से रोजा इफ्तार किया।
रमजान पाकिस्तान, रमजान पाकिस्तान।
रमज़ान पाकिस्तान में एक बार फिर खुश आमदीद। मैं हूँ सारा भट्टी और मेरे साथ मौजूद है फ़ारूक हसन।
जी सारा, बहुत शुक्रिया। ख़वातीन हज़रात, अब वो वक्त हुआ चाह रहा है हमारी ट्रांसमिशन क्योंकि ऑलमोस्ट तकरीबन ख़त्म होने वाली है आज के दिन के लिए। तो हम हदिया नात रसूल मकबूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम पेश करते हैं और आज ये सादत हासिल करेंगे मोहम्मद फ़रहान कुरैशी साहब। फ़रहान।
खुला है सभी के लिए बाब रहमत, खुला है सभी के लिए बाब रहमत, वहाँ कोई रुतबे में अदना नाली, मुरादों से दामन नहीं कोई खाली, कतारे लगाए खड़े हैं सवाली, मुरादों से दामन नहीं कोई खाली, कतारे लगाए खड़े हैं सवाली, खुला है सभी के। मैं पहले पहल जब मदीने गया था तो थी दिल की हालत तड़प जाने वाली,